First up front, you know the rules. Don't blend in.
Blend in.
Be somebody. Be somebody. Make them talk about it.
Back in your life, like one of your starting cornerbacks screaming at the fans while you give up a Hail Mary touchdown for a crushing loss that gets everyone fired. This is the Burden by the Bear podcast. Welcome to a brand new adventure here on the For Frequency's Sake podcast network. My name is Joe Winkle. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for being a part of episode number 1 of Burden by the Bear. It is an Educated Ignorance production. We're here live on the For Frequency's Sake podcast network. We want to thank everybody hanging out with us. A couple bits of notes. Like the video. Go to our YouTube channel, Burden by the Bear. Subscribe to the video. We are live on YouTube. We are also live on Facebook and Twitter, so we really would appreciate it. Just run over there, hit that like video on the YouTube channel. That would really go a long way. Just search Burden by the Bear. It would be fantastic. We would appreciate it. Why Burden by the Bear? Well, in my experience in life, the Bears are a burden. So we're going to hear and we're going to gather and embrace that burden together and hope that the Chicago Bears lead us to the promised land of fandom. This is a podcast for Bears fans by your boy here, who is a Bears fan. We're going to talk all things Chicago Bears. We have so many cool things lined up. We have so many great ideas that we're going to get to. We have so many things we're going to touch on. This is the first of what we hope to be a long and fruitful journey together here on the airwaves and covering this fantastically annoying, interesting, historic. The superlatives are there, folks, but they are a football team. They drive us crazy, but that's why we adore them. All right, let's get after it, and let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. We're going to give off-season grades. So we're 8 days away from the NFL draft. We're going to talk draft stuff next week. We got some things planned where we're going to talk, potential. We'll talk about who the Bears should take at pick 10. We'll talk about who are some second, third round guys. Obviously, the Bears have multiple picks. I think they have 4 in the top 60. So we're going to talk about all of those things for what the Bears can do in the draft next week. But the Bears were very active in the offseason so far via the trade market as well as free agency. And we are going to, we're going to talk about those things today. We're going to give some grades. The Bears pretty much absolutely wiped the floor with their coaching staff, and we are going to discuss all of those things here today. We're going to talk about the coaches. We're going to give those hires grades. We're going to talk about the players. We're going to talk about those acquisitions grades. And we're going to have some fun while doing it. So again, please like the video. Tell one friend, it'll go a long way. And if you could, hop over to YouTube, Burden by the Bear, and hit that subscribe button. It will go a long way. For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network, tropes up there in the banner. We really appreciate it as well. Those are the ones who brought us to the dance. We must show love when it is given. So, or when we have the opportunity to. Let's do a quick little share. Let's do a little, let's do a thing. I am live. We are live. Let's make sure we are all good and we will get into it. Okay. So let's talk first about the coaching staff for the Chicago Bears team. I think, you look at this offseason, they clean house. Matt Nagy gone. Or excuse me, why Matt Nagy? I'm drunk. Matt Eberflus gone. That's how long it's been. Fired midseason. Thomas Brown comes in. Everything's a disaster. They lose 1 billion games to end the year. They fire OCs. They fire all the coordinators, well, most of them. And now we're here at this point where it's like, okay, who are they going to get? And they hire Ben Johnson. And I think that you can look at it from multiple ways. It's like, well, the Bears, people are going to look at what happened to end the season for the Lions and look at how, Ben Johnson might have been too cute in situations and think of how their season ended. And one of the plays he called in a game where they were down multiple scores was a wide receiver reverse pass that got intercepted. And people are going to use that to kind of throw dirt on the name. But at the end of the day, the Chicago Bears went out and hired the most sought after coaching prospect candidate over the last few seasons. Ben Johnson, if he could have left last year and got any job he wanted, he could have, Washington wanted him. He did not leave to go to the Commanders. He stayed to coach the Lions and try to make one more run at a Super Bowl. And the Bears job opens up. It was clear and obvious through whether it was subtleties or just downright out loud tampering that the Bears had a relationship with him, and Caleb Williams specifically had a relationship with Ben Johnson. I'm sure there was dialogue that started through, there was a lot of different pathways and a lot of different things that led to that. But all in all, Ben Johnson gets hired as the head coach for the Bears, and it's an A+. It's an absolute hammer down A+. No matter what your thoughts are, no matter what kind of gripes, I know Lions fans all of a sudden turned and said how Ben Johnson was terrible. The Lions are going to be fine. Even though they lost their coordinators, their culture is too good. That's not the point. Ben Johnson, I love the fact, I love what he's coming from. I love that leadership aspect. I love that he's got those things integrated into what he's doing and bringing that to Chicago. And I think so far he's hired a very good coaching staff, starting with the first coach that he hired was defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, of course, one of the worst records as a head coach in the NFL, but you go back and look at those defenses on the Saints and where he had been coaching throughout his career, they have been pretty good. And I am very excited with Allen being the defensive coordinator. His defensive coaching prowess was never questioned. His defensive coaching ability was never questioned. As a head coach, not great. And those Saints teams, not good. I'm not giving him a pass at all. He was a bad head coach. But as a defensive coordinator, I love this hire. I give it an A. It's a borderline A+. He was going to be one of the best defensive coordinators on the market, and the Bears got him. And I'm not going to compare this to Spags, because Spags is one of one. Spags is Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time. Maybe the greatest of all time when it comes to that position, or what comes to that spot. But you get Dennis Allen is in a spot now where if this defense is awesome, he's failed too much as a head coach to probably get another head coaching gig. So you're in the potential to where you are going to have multiple years of continuity in this defensive coordinator hire. And yeah, for him, obviously it sucks. And I don't know if he's going to be looking for, I don't know if I hope that the Bears defense is awesome and this team is awesome for Allen to get considerations to potentially be a head coach again. But those are the possibilities of, if this defense takes a huge step forward, where I think last year they really regressed. I think they got gashed in the run game. I think they were very undisciplined. After a couple of years ago under Eberflus, I thought they were pretty solid. Last year they were not. They started good, but then all of a sudden they hit the wall and they tanked. They made some acquisitions that were good. I think Allen's a very good defensive coordinator. I'm very excited to see what the Bears can do with him as their defensive coordinator. Again, offensive coach, not good. Defensive coordinator, very good. Very excited for that one. Next comes the offensive coordinator, and it's one it's flip a coin. It's a very raw potential hire, and I'm excited for it because with coaches like this that are looking to break through, and if you can link up with the right person, all of a sudden, you get that coach, quarterback, coordinator dynamic, and all of a sudden the sky's the limit. Declan Doyle is the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. This is the highest coaching position that he's ever gotten. He was the tight end coach for Denver for 2023 and 2024. He was the offensive assistant for the Saints from 2019 to 2022, former Iowa Hawkeye. Also played at Iowa Western. So, hey, there you go. Some local boy-ish kind of range, though, I don't think so because it's Chicago, but people in Illinois claim Iowa for whatever reason, at least where I live anyway. Regardless, them getting Doyle as the OC, I think it's very intriguing. I have it around a B because he's a very unknown coach, but the reviews are good. We're going to see what he is. Obviously, it's going to be him and Ben hopefully have a very good relationship. I imagine that they do. That's why he got the job. There were other options that people probably thought would be in this position. I remember the Detroit Lions head coach or offensive line coach people thought was going to come over and be the OC as well as the O. That ended up not happening. But Declan Doyle, 28 years old, an opportunity to grow. And under Ben Johnson's tutelage, I really, really do think this could be a good hire. Some positional coaches that I really like. I love the offensive staff that this team has built. Antoine Randall, assistant head coach and wide receivers coach, A+. He was fantastic in that role in Detroit. I love the fact that he is coming over with Ben Johnson. That was the guy that Ben Johnson wanted to bring. That was the one dude that he was able to hitch with him to Chicago. I love the physicality. I love the style that Lions offense played with, and especially on the perimeter. If the Bears can find a way to duplicate that, if they can have that, and the accountability, which, hey, in that wide receiver room, listen, we're 12 minutes into the new podcast. We're already going to lay it out there. Mr. Moore, number 2, accountability. Accountability train is coming right down your station, buddy. Antoine Randall is going to be a breath of fresh air in that wide receiver room. That is no bones about it. I'm very excited. Eric Bieniemy as the running backs coach. Excited for that one as well. Bieniemy's been a guy who was he was the OC at UCLA last year, and that was a bit of I wouldn't say a disaster. The team just was not that good, but obviously he had some experience with the Commanders, but also in a situation that wasn't the best. Sam Howell at quarterback under Ron Rivera. Not great, but he obviously had success with Kansas City. Long-time OC there. But Bieniemy coming in here, he'll have it, I think, obviously, long-time running back, played at Colorado University, fantastic player in college. So obviously this is a position that is strong for him. I think this is a great hire. You're just guys that have experience, guys that have boots on the ground, guys that have skin in the game for long periods of time. That is something that I like in the coaching staff, and that is something that I like that I think all of these guys are going to. It's a different set. It's a different tone. I think the Bears had so many issues when the coaching, it was what drove fans crazy. It's what drove me crazy because I always talked about how, if you keep blaming other people, then obviously there's certain things it's, it all kind of fell back on the quarterback issue, but you could just tell that this team last year, I think the talent that they added to actually make the team good, it exposed how poorly coached they were. And I think it is inarguable that the Bears last year were the worst coached team in the National Football League. One of at worst. I mean, they were one of the 5 worst coached teams in the league. You cannot convince me otherwise of how bad that team was coached last year. It was a disaster. JT Barrett as well, offensive staff. I think a B+ hire. I think Bieniemy was an A. Love Bieniemy's fit here. Fantastic. Special teams, they retained Richard Hightower. It'll be his 4th season. The special teams has left a lot to be desired. There's been a lot of mistakes over the years. Cough, cough, Velus Jones. Cough, cough. Those were just some nightmares. Cairo Santos was a guy that, has his limitations, but they kept he came through in a lot of different spots. He is a guy that is still on the Chicago Bears roster, and the Bears like him. Hightower likes him as their place kicker. They draft Torrey Taylor. He had his ups and downs, an incredibly arrogant pick in the 4th round by Mr. Ryan, Mr. Poles. We see you. We have not mentioned you yet through 15 minutes, but oh, buddy, oh, boy. Next week is your week to shine. Now, granted, a lot of these decisions had come at the behest of the general manager, so we'll probably talk about you here throughout this. But regardless, Hightower being retained, it's a C- move for me. I don't think he's the best, but I think, hopefully as a full unit, this special teams can improve a little bit. It wasn't detrimental. It was just very, very average. And at times there were too many mistakes. Press Taylor, offensive pass game coordinator, was honestly a D+ for me. I think Press Taylor is just not a good coach, but he has made his way onto this staff. And then Al Harris, the defensive backs coach, was the last one I wanted to touch on. Comes over from Dallas. I do like that hire a lot. I think his coaching with this, I think one of the best secondaries in the league, I think is much needed, and I think is a fantastic addition. All right. Let's talk about what you guys really want to talk about and what you're here for. And that is the players. There are 6 players we'll talk that were acquired by the Bears, either via trade or free agency. And we are going to talk about all of them. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball, and then we're going to talk about the couple of moves that they made on the defensive side of the ball. And a lot of it, the majority of it, the important ones of it, boy, oh boy, they got people who look like me but more athletic. They got big dudes. They got big boys. They got big burly boys to load up in the trenches on both sides of the ball. It was needed. Last year was one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They had a lot of they never could have steady hands, whether it was just poor play that they had to rotate in and out, certain guys that wouldn't stay healthy. Especially interior. They clearly have, as of right now, are showing, listen, Darnell Wright is a franchise player at the right tackle position. He is a very good player. Braxton Jones leaves a lot to be desired at times, but he's fine. He's okay. We'll see if they go and try to acquire a potential replacement for him next Thursday in the draft. I'm not sure. They very well could, but Jones, if he has to be your left tackle, you're not dead in the water. He's just probably your weakest link, especially now, because what was their weakest link was they have the worst interior offensive line in the NFL. Coleman Shelton was an improvement at center over the years before, but he was still a disaster. Tevin Jenkins, you never knew if he was going to be starting or not. You never had any clue if he was going to be playing, what it was. Matt Pryor, Nate Davis. There was just so many different bodies and their schematics. It was their Chris Morgan, the worst offensive coordinator I've ever seen in my life. Just a disaster. I despised everything that they were. I despised everything that unit was last year, and they understood. The Bears understood the assignment. Offensive line, they had to improve, and they went out and literally got an entire new interior of the offensive line. It started with going out and getting Jonah Jackson. They traded a 6th-round pick for him. They acquired him from the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, last year, a bit of a down year for him. He only played 4 games. He was, the lowest total for him in his career. Never missed any games really throughout his first few years. Played 12 games in his last year in Detroit, last year in LA. He only played 4 games with injury. But it's a scheme fit with Ben Johnson. You hope that he's on the tail for a bounce back year health-wise. Hopefully, though, the Bears still can find a way to add depth at that position. Obviously, they lost Tevin Jenkins, in free agency. So hopefully they can find a way to acquire depth, maybe draft another guy for in the inside next Thursday night. Or next weekend during the draft. Who knows? We'll see. But Jonah Jackson, some of the stuff that they did that was questionable, they did a restructuring of Jonah Jackson's contract. And the big number that is scary is that next year his cap number is $25 million. Now, there are some cap shenanigans and the things we're going to try to do the most here over the years, especially in the offseason, is we're going to all try together to learn the salary cap as best as we can. Obviously, the NFL salary cap, it doesn't exist unless you just continue to kick cans down the road. Eventually that bill comes due, but it does not exist if your general manager cares about winning. Just look at the Chiefs, just look at the Eagles, et cetera, et cetera. There are ways that they can get off the Jonah Jackson number, whether it be I don't know about restructuring, but they can do a June 1st pre June 1st cut next year to where his dead money is only $7 million and they save $18 million in cap space. They can also do a post June 1st cut where his dead money is only $3.5 million and they save $21.5 million. So those are just some things that they can do to you know, to find ways to to handle his money if it's something that now, if he's good enough, maybe I'm sure they just restructure it and save some money that way. But that's obviously a big number for next year that they are going to have to deal with. I think people look at it and it's like, well, it's scary, but there's obviously some shenanigans that are there for them to be able to do things with it. All in all, for Jonah Jackson, I graded a B-. It's a risky proposition because of the injury factor from last season, but if he plays, he's a solid player, very good player, potentially. And I think him as your third best offensive lineman, I think is pretty good. And I definitely think it's a massive upgrade from last year, and he's not even the best guy that they required on the offensive line. That would go to the man that they got via trade from the Kansas City Chiefs, future Hall of Famer, 4-time Super Bowl champion, Joe Thuney. He's in the final year of a long-term deal he signed with Kansas City. He's got 1 year left at $16 million. He was traded for a 4th-round pick. 32 years old. This is an A+, folks. This is how it's done. I think people who try to say that this trade is not good are very stupid. And I think it is baffling to me that a team like the Bears, because they're untrustworthy and because they do dumb stuff and the team has a checkered record of doing things, they make a move like this and it's like, oh, well, they require an older lineman. This dude has been one of the best players at his position for a half-decade plus. And I'm being generous there, longer than that, nearly a decade. One of the best players at his position, one of the best players in the league. Yes, he's an older player, 32 years old. Yes, the last tape we saw of him was getting baptized in the Super Bowl. He was playing out of position. He's a guard. He had to play tackle because the Chiefs' offensive line was a disaster. I adore this maneuver. The fact that they were able to go out and do it. Everyone thought they were going to go get Trey Smith. The Chiefs tagged him. Chiefs needed to move somebody. And bang, Ryan Poles goes out and gets Joe Thuney. It's a fantastic move. A+ for me to add him to this team. Just veteran leadership. He'll be one of the captains on the team, I would assume. Just incredible stuff. A move that needed to be made. And then last but not least on the offensive line was Drew Dalman. They get him from the Atlanta Falcons via free agency. 3 years, $42 million, 28 of it guaranteed. I love this move. It's an A move for me. People were trying to say he's the same player as Coleman Shelton, and I'm like, guys, he's not. You just look at everything that he does. The tape speaks better. His grades, even though I think some of those things are very overstated, but he was a top 5 graded run blocker, which, to some people matter. I think that he is a fantastic linchpin in the center of your offensive line to bolster that unit. They have not had a good center in forever. Like we're talking about in the history of my Bears fandom, it goes back to like 2010, 2009, really. I mean, even like the mid-2000s, the Super Bowl team, like those are the last times that this team had a good center. So like a passable one. I know they had Cody Whitehair, who was fine, but outside of that, I mean, it's a lot of nightmare fuel for the Bears at the center position. And getting that upgrade with Dalman, you go from the I'm sad and hate everything from Sam Mustipher to I mean, who else were over the years that were just Lucas Patrick, Shelton last year, who was very, very left a lot to be desired. To go out and get Dolman, thank God. And yeah, that trio, love it. Fantastic. Last offensive player they got, we'll go quickly here, is Devin Duvernay. Special teams edition. Could very well be a gadget receiver. We'll see what they use from him offensively. Don't think it'll be too much, but definitely think I'm sure he'll be slightly used offensively every now and then, but definitely mainly a special teams guy. Was one of the better ones in the league as a punt returner, especially in Baltimore, and them going out and getting him. Love it for sure. Long gone are going to be the days of Velus Jones returning kicks and punts for the team that I care about. And that makes me happy. I know Velus Jones got cut like early last season, but God, Carter last year was fine. I think they used some other guys at times too, but still, I'm glad Duvernay's a much breath of fresh air. All right, let's talk about the two guys on defense that they got. And the first one's a more controversial one than the other one. Now, both still are a little but we'll talk about them. I like both of them to a degree. Love one of them. The other one, we'll see. First one is Indianapolis Colts defensive lineman Dayo Odeyingbo. He signed for 3 years, $48 million, $28.5 million guaranteed. He is a player that was in a different system. He was one of the more polarizing signings of the free agency market. He ran he was in a 3-4 in Indianapolis. He comes here to Dennis Allen's defense. He's a 4-3, but he must be someone that this defensive coaching staff likes. He is young. He is only going to be, he doesn't turn, let me see here. He turns, he will turn 26 in September. So he's a young player. I think they did get him on a relatively cheap-ish deal. I mean, you look at what some of the other defensive players in this free agency class got. Obviously, Milton Williams was the one that got maybe a little bit overpaid, but he's a good player. He got $100 million. Josh Sweat got $76 million. Jonathan Allen got $51. Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. People thought the Bears were going to go get him. Thank God they did not go get him. Javon Kinlaw got 3 years, $45 million, and you probably can't find 4 plays that he's ever made in his NFL career so far. So those are some of the guys that are in comparison to the deals that he made. Obviously, the other one on the Bears, which we'll talk about, is another. They both pretty much made the same money to a degree. He just doesn't have the raw numbers. He had 8 sacks 2 years ago. In 2023, 5 in 2022, only 3 last year. His tackle numbers last year were down. He did place he has played all 17 games for 3 straight seasons. Started last year was the first year that he was a starter, a main starter on the defensive line for Indianapolis. You know, it's a bit of a polarizing decision. He's a guy that might not put up huge numbers, but he's a guy that I think could be consistent at least. But the people think that the tell here is that he can play defensive end and defensive tackle in a 4-3. He can move out to the end, so you allow Dexter to stay inside. You could put him at end. Allen likes bigger edge rushers, so he can be a good guy. I think it's definitely going to help in the run game. He is more of a run stopper than a pass rusher. That is for sure. I think he'll be a guy that does play both. I think this team is going to definitely look to add the edge rushing position next week in the draft. That is a for sure thing. I expect that for Odeyingbo, you're going to see him play both positions. You'll see him play tackle. You'll see him play end. I have it as a C+ because I think there's a lot of variables here. It's not that I don't like it. I just think that his numbers, he might be a guy where the tape is more valuable than the numbers. We'll just see. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you're commanding this money. You've never been on a very good defense. Other than the fact that you're young, what values you in controlling this money. Now that it's not a whole lot, it's $16 million a year. 30, I guess it shows here the 32 million of it is guaranteed. He got 29.5 signing on it, guaranteed on the signing bonus. Like, it's not like it's not a crazy number, right? It's not the worst signing in the world. It's just, in comparison to some other moves, like, would I have liked them to go out and get Josh Sweat? Yeah, probably, because they desperately need a edge rusher to complement opposite Montez Sweat. And hey, Sweat would have been cool, guys. It just would have been cool. I'm glad that they stayed the flip out of the Chase Young business, because I think he is overrated. Would maybe a guy like Tershawn Wharton been a better option? I know DJ, shout out to Donald, the tribal chief of FFSQC. I know he is a massive fan of him. He went and signed with Carolina. Would that have been a bit of a better option? Maybe. Outside of that, though, there weren't too many other guys that could have been in that spot where it was like, well, it would have been. I mean, Jonathan Allen is a good player, but he's 30, so I don't think you really want to throw $31.5 million guaranteed and $17.5 million a year on a 30-year-old. The Bears obviously went out and got. I mean, now, granted, Grady Jarrett is 32. We're about to talk about him. And that he was a little bit cheaper than He was cheaper than Jonathan Allen by a fair margin, but regardless, I think he's also more productive. So I see that I see the vision in why they went and got Adengbo, but it's going to be something. It'll be intriguing to see if it's more of a tape thing or if it's a numbers thing. My boy Anthony, I'm finally making content he can appreciate. Shout out to Bears fan, my guy Anthony Ransom. Thank you very much, my friend, for chiming in. Like we said, if you're watching us, we appreciate it. Like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Burdened by the Bear. It would be very, very much really appreciated. That is for sure. We thank you very, very much for doing so. This is just episode 1, our first episode here, rocking it out. So many other great things to get to. Let's talk about the last acquisition for the Bears to grade here. So we talked about the line. We talked about Adengbo. Here's my favorite, one of them at least. Defensively, it's by far the favorite of the two. It's Grady Jarrett. I've been a fan of this player for a long time. He was a cut in the early stages of the offseason. He obviously had some injury and some health issues a couple years ago. Played all 17 last year. He is a guy that I feel like for what they are at that defensive position in the defense, they need leadership. He is that. They need the ability to have a guy who can put up numbers. He is that. He's done that his entire career. He is not going to be a sack guy. His sacks have fallen off. He had 6 in 2022, but after, and again, defensive tackles, it's different than if you're a defensive end, right? So it's all those numbers are down. He is one of the best run defensive players in the interior D-line in the National Football League. He had, he averages, he had a couple down years now, granted, again, because of some injuries. So like 2021 was his lowest output year-wise on a tackle for loss basis, but he still put up a good amount of tackles. He had 12 tackles for loss in 2022. He had 9 last year. So he's a guy that can definitely be disruptive there and a disrupting presence in the middle. I just love this addition. I love it. Compared to other guys at his position and his age, he makes, he made less than Jonathan Allen. I think that he made less than a guy younger than him and Javon Kinlaw, who both of those guys, especially Kinlaw, does not have anywhere near the production of him. He made more than Javon Hargrave, but he's younger than Javon Hargrave by a little bit. And I think Javon Hargrave has really not been the player that he was in Philadelphia since he went to San Francisco. He was in San Francisco for, I believe, a year or so. He's now on the Vikings. And again, this is a fantastic move. I love the addition of Grady Jarrett. It's an A- move for me. Again, I much rather them do this than go out, you get a Dengbo, who I don't love as much, and you get Jarrett, you get multiple guys that, especially in a guy like a Dengbo who can play both positions, and a guy like Jarrett who has high-level production on the inside to pair with Gervon Dexter to help fill out the defensive line. I still think they need another edge rusher. They need another closer on the defensive line. They need a closer at the edge rushing position. I like the fact that they went out and got multiple guys like that, especially one of them in Jarrett, who is a high-level player, instead of throwing the money that like New England did at Milton Williams. Now, I think Milton Williams is really good, but he's only got 1 year of production at a high, at a seemingly high level. There's just not a lot of meat on that bone. Is Milton Williams a fantastic player? He certainly was last year. And we knew that because especially what he did in the postseason and mainly the Super Bowl, we knew that his price tag was going to, he was going to secure the bag, to say the least. I think that what the Bears did last year, massive upgrades in both, from what they were last year to now, I think massive upgrades in both trenches, especially on the offensive line. It's why all of those, the majority, I think overall the offseason for them has been, I don't know how you can say as a whole, it's been less than an A. You go out and you get the most sought after coaching prospect in the league to be your head coach. You go out and get some fantastic acquisitions on your coaching staff. You go out and upgrade your offensive line, which was desperately needed. You go up and acquire some very talented guys on the defensive line, which was desperately needed. This team was so poorly coached last year, and they were so bad in the trenches that they acquired all of those things. And the thing that it now leads to is next week, and which is the draft. And we're going to talk about that next week. Next week, we will have a couple shows lined up where we will talk about. I got a show lined up where, excuse me, we are going to discuss the top 5 players that I think make the most sense at pick number 5. We are also going to have a show where we talk about some late round potential, some mid round players that are going to be some, the Bears have 4 picks in the top 60. So those are all, they have a chance to really, upgrade this roster. And I think they're trying to make, this is a team that is going to be contending for a postseason berth next year. And I think, they've got 4 picks in the top 72. And then they obviously traded their 4th and their 6th, so they don't have another pick after that till the 5th. And then they have 2 picks in the 7th round. So those are 4 top. They can get 4 potential top 70 guys in this draft. And they have picks 39 and 41. We'll see if they package those to maybe move up. There's a lot of different things that they can do. I'm excited to see exactly how they handle this and where they go in the draft, and that's going to be what we discuss next. But the way they handled this offseason, it opened everything up in the draft for them. And especially in a draft like this where you don't need to be need-based. There are a lot of really good players in this draft. The thing is that what they need to do is they need to go out and get the best guys available. And we'll talk about that, like who those can be and why I think some will be better than others. But they were in a position before the offseason where this is what they have to do. This is where they're going to be handcuffed, especially if they get to the draft without certain acquisitions made. They killed this offseason from a coaching staff perspective, from a player personnel perspective, offensive and defensive line, which this team was horrendous last year at. They upgraded at so many positions. Are these all top tier, S tier level guys? No, some of them are. Joe Thuney, fantastic player. Dahlman, one of the probably 8 to 10 best guys at his position in the league. Jonah Jackson's a fine player. Grady Jarrett, I think, is a really, really, really good player. And Dayo Odeyingbo, we'll see. He's hit or miss, but I think a solid rotational piece. Hopefully you get a little bit more than that at that money, but it's not like they paid him a crazy amount. I think he's a fine guy. He's young. He can still get better. That's what I think the Bears especially are banking on, is that he improves. And if that happens, all bets are off. He could be a very talented player. But they go out and get all those acquisitions. Now it opens them up for next week, where they have so many different ways they can attack. They're picking 10. Will they move up? I don't know. It's going to be hard, especially after, that the draft really is going to start like after pick 3 and 4. So it's going to be hard to move up from 10, because we already top 3, 4 picks are pretty much locked. Not in, who's going to go where. It's just that those are going to be hard to get off those, or hard for those teams to get rid of those picks. So to move up between 5 and 10, it's going to be very tough, especially if you're already in that spot. It's hard to do. So I don't know if they'll be able to move up, but regardless, they can kind of sit back and see what comes to them. There are going to be good options out there regardless. So it opens things up, and I'm excited. I'm excited for what this team can do. I'm excited for what this team has done over the last few months. And I'm excited for the journey that we can all go on together here on this show, here on this platform. And I'm so happy. We're finally doing this. This team breaks my heart. They make my day. They excite me. They make me scream. They make me pull the hair out of my head that I don't have. But at the end of the day, we're all fans. And I think that the coolest part of all of this is that you share experiences with fans. Sports brings people together. And I hope that this rambunctious team can bring all of us together to talk about it, to enjoy, to discuss. And I think there's a lot of untapped potential we can have here. So thank you guys all for watching. Again, click like on the video. We really appreciate it. Whatever platform you're watching, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, but we would really appreciate it if you go and like the video on YouTube. Tell us your thoughts in the comments as well on, what did you think of the hires for the Bears? Did you think that they made the right moves? Who was your favorite acquisition, whether it was a coach or a player? What are some things you're looking for them? Who was a guy maybe that they didn't get that you wanted them to get in free agency? Who are you looking in the draft for them to go get next week? We're going to talk next week draft. We'll have schedules and stuff posted out. I don't want to book anything, say for sure, say the end of the week here, because I think there's going to be some stuff going on. I'll be doing Educated Ignorance. That show is not going away. We'll be doing Friday night. I'm going to do a basketball preview for the playoffs with my guy, Danny Peel. Shout out to my boy, Danny from Gotham Gambling. But my other friend, Danny, he is going to be here. We're going to be rocking it out on the postseason little preview. We got also some fun little gimmicks we're going to be doing. That's going to be a new Friday night special. I'm excited for that. So the Educated Ignorance, make sure you watch that. It's on the For Frequency's Sake QC YouTube channel. It's up here in the top part. So that is and it's also on my Facebook. So those are things of content that are not going away at all. Our draft show next week will be at Kavanaugh's. Can't wait for that. Next week, we'll do draft content here for the Bears. We'll have our live mock draft show next week. Woo! Can't wait for that, for the round one. And then, of course, our draft show. So much content still coming. Anthony Covenant saying how he loves the coach. Me too, man. The fact that at the end of the day for the Bears, when was the last time that in a 2-year sequence that they got the quarterback we all wanted and the head coach that we all wanted? At this point, if it fails, maybe not good for me to say on episode 1, but if it still doesn't work, then maybe it just isn't going to, and we're all going to be miserable together. But they got the quarterback that everybody wanted. I know Jaden Daniels is whatever, but, guys, everyone wanted Caleb in the draft. And I still think Caleb eventually is going to be a better player sooner than later, folks. Just hot take. Throw that out there in minute 45 of episode 1. Caleb Williams is going to be a better player than Jaden Daniels. And also, I believe that you had that. Ben Johnson is the coach that everyone wanted that was needing a head coach. And the Bears got both. So where we're at right now, I will gladly take. All things considered, it could be way worse. So did it suck that they had to punt an entire season last year, basically? Yes, it did. because last year was incredibly frustrating. One of the most, if not the most frustrating I've had as a fan. But I'm really happy with where they're at right now. We're happy where we are at together with all this content, and I'm happy that we are off and running. Burdened by the Bear. Please go like and comment. Please subscribe. We really appreciate it. All right. This has been the Burdened by the Bear podcast on the For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network. Bear down, all that good stuff. Until next time, we will see you guys next week. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate it. Tell all your friends. If you ain't got your game, remember, you better pass the sticks. And we'll see y'all next week, Friday for Educated Ignorance, episodes next week for draft coverage. This has been episode 1, Burdened by the Bear. We are out. Peace.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.